What's up? I'm Bryson,
And this is Kantamor.
and we're here to present our ICS final project. Basically, what we did was we made an encryption function that like kind of encrypts your messages so the server can't read it. We also made a password feature, which gives you a password and it tells you if you put an incorrect password or a correct password, like a if you duplicated your login attempt. So that's what we did. Um, it was really fun to work on this. It was a bit confusing at first. The encryption was probably the best part, and then there's a bit of minor bugs getting the GUI to work. But other than that, it's pretty good. So, yeah, pretty rewarding, I would say. Got any thoughts?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because I, like, couple years back in high school, I tried making a chat app with PHP, but then it kind of ended up not working because I pulled the server too many times and it broke the computer.
Anyways, yeah. So this is our project. So the first thing that we want to present is the password function. Basically, what we did was we made a GUI edit where you can enter your password and it will send it to the server and it'll do its magic. Um, and the first problem we encountered when making this was we need a place to store your password. And so I created a password attribute onto the index with the self.password equals password. And basically, what that does is every time you log in, you basically um, load in the index in the chat's user the user history of the user, right? So the index serves as like a very convenient place to put a password as well because it's accessing the index every single time it logs in. So this is where we store the password and basically, yeah, that's where we store the password. And there's another part in the GUI where we add a text if you put the wrong password or if you're trying to do a duplicate login attempt.
Hello, I'm gonna talk about encryption, the main feature of the program. So what I did is basically I imported the PyCrypto library and used it to produce random numbers, the RSA encryption, and then since the RSA encryption didn't work that well, I used PKCS1. It's like an alternative to RSA, but it works the same. And base 64 to basically send the text from converted to from bytes to string, so we can send it over the message, and AST for like debugging purposes, which we used, and I don't think it's in the code anymore. So what we do is basically for every login session by the user, it generates a random number, and using that random number, it creates a key, a private key, and from the private key, it creates the public key for both of the users. So for every login session, they make new public key and private key, and that is converted from this new class called the PKCS. It's a long name, but then the line after that basically converts it to bytes, so that it's readable and that we can convert it to bytes and then text later on. So it's we can send it through messages, and that's how the functions work. They make the messages encrypted and sendable by text. And so whenever we make the connection to the other user by saying C username, alongside all the connection requests, we also send the public key. So what it does is basically in the beginning they exchange public keys, and then whenever they want to send a message, they encrypt the message with the other receiving end's public key, so that they can receive it, and then the private key automatically um, decrypts the message that was being sent, and then presents it on screen with whatever the first person said. So for every login session, it doesn't store text because you can't really see the chat history when you don't have the private key from that session from before. It's not stored. For every login session, there's a new private and public key. So yeah, I'm not sure how we will gonna improve this for multiple users, but we might have to send multiple public keys to multiple users before sending. Yeah. And yeah, that's how the encryption goes for us. It's RSA, but like we don't have the chat history function. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so pretty much everything else in the chat works. And you'll see that in the video that we're gonna show. But yeah, so the poem function still works, and then the chatting still works, and we added this thing where it's like it'll pop your name in brackets, which is pretty nice. And then we got rid of this really stupid bug that was like adding on, like compounding every message by basically changing the like something self dot system out message to like a plus equals to like a equals. So that got it out of the way pretty well. The only thing that doesn't work is the chat history function because every message is like now encrypted. But I think that's a good thing because like that means the encryption is doing its job, which means like the server can't really see your messages anymore. So that's like that's a feature, not a bug. You know, it's a feature in the US. They call it a feature. So, yeah. Okay, so this is what's happening. This is how it works. So we're starting the server, and you open the clients, and you can see over there. There's the public key of the person because it generates it at the start.
Oh, okay. That's the third, I guess, terminal session. Yeah, for different users, we use it for debugging purposes. There's two public keys. When you're like, yeah, there's the public key that's printed on the terminal for debugging purposes.
And you can see we've logged in over here, and it can connect. So everything's pretty normal, and we have this really nice message that says, like, public key from user W received and channel secure. So you know, and you can see in the background that we're like sending the public key and the private keys and all that. Or not, we're not sending the private keys. We're sending the public keys. Yes.
And yeah, we can see that on the other users and the both users and actually, we exchange public keys, and then afterwards, for every message they're sending, they have what they have. Like they show what message they're encrypting with like whatever key. So basically the other user's key, and yeah, and it shows which private key they're using to like decrypt. So for further improvement, I think if we were to order, basically include the encryption part, but also have the chat history. I think we should have, for every user there should be like a salt function. So like for every user they still have their private and public key intact, but like it doesn't change. But you can't really find back the private key because alongside the username there should be like a user ID alongside some other salt. I don't know, any information. Maybe I don't know. Like we could add a game to it, I believe we should have like a chat, like a server storage function where you can go back and see what they texted while they were gone. It's pretty not that hard to implement because they can just make chat rooms and you go to the chat room and you see the recent messages. Yeah.
Also, for the password stuff, I think one thing we could also change is maybe like making a login area. So that could just be like a GUI thing, have a different login page, have like a sign up button. That would also be pretty easy to implement, and I think it's a bit confusing if like you just make a random new user and it's like weird. So yeah. All right. Thanks so much for listening to us. I'm Bryson,
And this is Gantamar.
and we bring you encrypted messages. Yay! This is for legal purposes. I forgot to add this at the beginning of the video, so I'm going to put it at the end.